Photoshop basic number 1, creating a new canvas. To start a new canvas, you're going to go over to File, and you're going to click on New. Here, a screen should pop up where you can either select a size that you've recently used, or you can type in a size that you want. You can also choose your resolution. You can even change your background color, meaning whenever it starts your new project, do you want the background to be white? Do you want it to be transparent? And then of course, once you're ready, you click Create. Photoshop basic number 2 is how to insert a photo into your canvas. So there's two different ways you can do this. The first one is, I would say, the easier one. You would go to File, click Place Embedded, and then select your image. What that does is it automatically brings whatever image you want to use onto the current project that you have open. But let's say you want to maybe edit the photo a little bit, you want to play around with it, and so you don't want it on your current project, you want it as its own project. Then what you would do instead is go to File, you would click Open, and then double click on the image you want to use. As you can see, it has opened up a second project for me, a second tab, and now it's its own separate project for me to start working on. This is actually going to lead me into Photoshop basic number 3, which is how to resize your image. And there are also two different ways you can do this. Let's say you want your background to stay the same size, but you just want to resize this. You would click on your photo, and there you go. You can just drag and resize it like that. However, let's say there's a specific size you need, then instead what you would do is click on Image, click on Image Size, and here is where you would type in what size you want it to be. Let's say we need it to be 6 inches by 6 inches. Click OK, and it resizes our image. Moving on to Photoshop basic number 4, it's going to be how to crop an image. So I'm going to show you two different ways. The first way is my favorite way because it's the fastest way in my opinion. You're going to use what's called a shortcut. So the shortcut for cropping something is just simply going to be the letter C on your keyboard. As you can see, I now have these little border options here that allow me to drag them around. So now I can crop however I want. So let's say I just wanted to crop like this here, and now it has cropped it for me. So the second way to crop a photo in Photoshop is by using the actual crop tool from your tool bar. So this bar right here, which by the way can be moved around, is called the toolbar. Now if you right click on these three little dots here, you'll notice that there are way more tools to choose from, including the crop tool. Click on that and you'll be able to then crop your image. Photoshop basic number 5, how to add a pattern. So to add a pattern into Photoshop, the first thing you'll need to do is to save an image that you want to use as a pattern. I already have one, so now what I'm going to do is go over to File, click Open, and I'm going to click on the pattern that I saved. Now this is just a random pattern I found online. A pattern is one that you can find online, you can purchase online, or you can make one on your own. But if I want to use it in something maybe like a chip bag or party favor, I'm going to need a pattern. So now that I have my pattern file open, I'm going to head over to Edit and then scroll down to Define Pattern. From here you can change the name of your pattern. I'm going to go ahead and leave it as is because it doesn't really matter too much, and then click OK. Now you're going to go over to whatever project it is that you're working on, select the layer that you want to replace with that pattern. For me, it's just going to go ahead and be this background layer. You're going to come down to the bottom where it has FX, click on Pattern Overlay, and then select the pattern. So as you can see here, I have a lot of patterns currently saved, And as you can see, you can kind of tell what it is from the image, right? So that's why the name personally to me doesn't matter, because I'm not searching by name, I'm searching visually by the pattern that I need. So you're going to select your pattern, but before you close this little box, you can see that it doesn't look perfect. There's this line running through here, and with my mouse I can move it around, but maybe I need to make it bigger so that this line isn't so visible here. Well, then right here on scale, you can either type in a new number, or you can use this little slider bar to increase the size. From here, I would move it around again until I get the placement just right. And there you go. However, let's say I wanted to rotate my image so that the lines are going up and down instead of side to side. Then I would go where this angle box is and I would type in 90 degrees. And there you go. And again, I'm going to use my mouse to move the image around until it comes to a point that I enjoy. Once you have it the way that you want it, that's when you go ahead and click OK. And then if you wanted to ever edit it again or wanted to replace it with something else, you would go over to Pattern Overlay right here on your right hand side and you would double click on it. That opens up the layer style box, and there you go. You can edit it as you want again. Photoshop basic number 6, adding or inserting text. So as I mentioned earlier, here on your left hand side, this is your toolbar. You have a lot of different tools here, one of them being this little type tool. Alright, so you're going to go ahead and click on that. And now as you can see, my mouse is no longer the little hovering arrow. It is now ready to start typing. So I'm going to click where I want to place my text. Let's say I want to place my text up here. I'm going to now click down, and now it is ready for me to start typing. So let's just say I'm going to put happy birthday. I do that, and then I'm going to click on this check mark. I'm going to click on my move tool, and now I can drag the text around anywhere I want. I can use these little nodules to increase the size, or I can use my properties box here on my right hand side to change the font, to change the size. I can even space the letters out. If I wanted to adjust the lettering, I can double click on it and edit it however I want. I can come over here to change the space between the lines. I can change the color. And if I wanted to, I could fill my text with the pattern overlay, just like I did this back layer. Now I'm going to show you Photoshop basic number 7, which is how to add a stroke to your text. So in case you don't know what a stroke is, it is an outline that goes around your text. Different programs call them different things, but the most used name is a stroke. So I have my pattern overlay effect on my happy birthday text, but now what I'm going to do is go down to FX and click on stroke. Alright, so here you can change what color you want. I'm going to change mine to white, and you can change the size you want it. You can even change the opacity. And you can change the position of it. Do you want it on the outside the way you see it here? Do you want it on the inside of the lettering? Do you want it on the center of the lettering? Photoshop basic number 8, I'm going to show you how to add a couple of simple shapes into your project. So to insert a shape, you're going to use your toolbar again. Remember, the toolbar is here on your left hand side, and if you want, you can move it around. If you notice here, there's a shape of a rectangle, and as you can see, it is called the rectangle tool. However, if you use your computer mouse and you right click on it, this little box will pop up and you can see that there's a couple of more basic shape options. So they have rectangle tool, ellipse tool, which is basically just a circle, polygon tool, line tool, or custom shape tool. So I'm going to open up the ellipse tool just so you can see what I'm talking about. You drag and you drop your circle in whatever shape you want. So this is obviously an oval. You can get a circle. And then if you want to change the color of it, you come over to your properties box and you can change it to whatever color you want. You can even add a stroke to it. And then you can even change what type of stroke. So this one is obviously a striped stroke, but you can change it to a regular line or dots. Let's say you wanted to insert in the shape of a circle, but you need that circle to be a perfect circle. Then what you're going to do is you're going to click on your circle or your ellipse tool. You're going to come over here. Now you have to do two things at the same time, and you're going to hold these two buttons down. With one hand, you're going to hold your mouse down, and with your other hand, you're going to hold down the shift button. All right. So with my right hand, because I'm right-handed, I have my hand on my mouse. I'm going to click down onto the screen, but I'm holding it down. I'm not letting it go. And then with my left hand, I'm going to go to my keyboard and I'm going to hold down the shift button. Now I'm going to drag out. Again, I'm not letting anything go. And then when it's whatever size I need it to be, I'm going to let go of my mouse, let go of the shift, and there you go. You now have a perfectly even rounded circle. So that was a simple circle, but I'm actually going to now show you how to insert in a star. So you're going to go back to your shapes tool, right click again so you can see the other options, and you're going to click on the polygon tool. So up here at the top, it is asking me how many points do I want my polygon to have. I want it to have 5 since that's how many points a star has. But the next step here is to click on this little settings, little gear button, and on where it says star ratio, I need you to type in 50% so that it does actually come out looking like a star. All right, so again, you click on your polygon tool, make sure that there's 5 sides, click on the little gear, type in 50% and star ratio. I'm gonna use my mouse, I'm gonna go ahead and click anywhere on the screen and I'm gonna drag it out, and here is my star. Photoshop basic number 9, how to select multiple layers. So there's actually quite a few ways to do this. The first one being the super easiest one. You literally just drag your mouse over all the different layers that you want to pick up, and there you go. They are now all selected, and if I wanted to, I could drag them all around now because I have them all selected. A second way to select layers is to go over to the layers panel on the right hand side of the screen, click on the layer that you want, and then hold down the control or command button on your keyboard and then click on the other layers that you want to pick. So let's say I only wanted to click on my star and my background layer so that happy birthday stays there. Look at this. Ta-da! These are the only layers moving because they are the only ones I have currently selected. And then the third way that I use most often personally is going to be to click on the layer you want on your actual screen and then holding down the shift button on your keyboard, click on the next one, and now there you go. I can move these layers around because I have these two both selected. Okay, so moving on to Photoshop basic number 10, how to duplicate your layers. So I've started off with a new screen and I just have my 1 star. So let's say that you need to make 5 total stars. Instead of going through that shape tool again and again and again, all you have to do is hold down whatever layer it is that you want to duplicate, and you can either head over to layers and click on duplicate layer. It's going to ask you if you want to change the name of it, and I don't really care, so I'm going to leave it as is. And then there you go, you have a copy. So that's how to do it using the top toolbar. However, let's say you're short on time and you want to just use a keyboard shortcut, then what you would do instead is click on your layer, and using your keyboard, you're going to type in Control J. If you are on a Mac computer, it's going to be Command J. It looks here on my screen like it didn't create another layer, but when I look over to my layers panel on the right hand side of my screen, I can see that there are now 2. So if I move this over, ta-da! And then again, let's say, like I said at the beginning, I needed 5. I'm going to select both of my layers, and again, Control J or Command J. I now have 4, and then I'm going to click on 1 to do it one more time, so now I have 5 total stars. Now I can highlight them all and do whatever the heck I want with them, such as resize them. Can move them around. Now let's say you got all of the duplicates that you want, but now you want to merge them all together. All you'll do is highlight whatever it is that you want to be merged together, just like this. Go over to Layer on the top hand part of your screen. Scroll down to Merge Shapes. Now, if you're not using shapes like I am, it's going to just say merge down or merge layers. Photoshop basic number 12, how to move your layers. Obviously, that sounds like it's a really easy thing because, hello, I'm moving my layer. However, let's say that I had a layer that was different. For example, we'll use this middle one here. I'm going to change the color just to help you understand this little lesson. Let's say I need this navy blue one to be on top of these. You can see that it's behind them. But let's say I want it to be in front of them. There are 2 ways that I could do that. I could come over to my layers panel and simply just hold that layer and then drag it and drop it to the top. See, now it's on the top. But again, let's say I wanted to know the keyboard shortcut for it. To do that, I'm going to hold down on my Windows computer, I'm going to hold down the Shift button, the Control button, and the End bracket button. That is how I easily move my layers to the top. Now let's say I made a mistake and I wanted to actually move it to the very, very back. What I'm going to do is click Shift, Control, Open bracket, and it sends it to the back. Again, if you're on a Mac computer, it should be Shift, Command, Open bracket. Let's say you want to move it back to the front on your Mac computer, click Shift, Command, End bracket. Moving on to Photoshop basic number 13, how to use your color picker. So if you look over on your toolbar, you'll notice these 2 little squares down here. These are your color picker tools. So let's say I wanted to change this pink star to a color that is somewhere on my screen. So what you'll do is you're going to use this top little square, use your mouse to click on it, and it opens up your color picker tool. Now if you look at my mouse has now changed and it looks like a little eye droplet. So I'm going to use the eye droplet and I'm going to click on whatever color I want. If I were to click here, it changes my color. If I were to click here, it changes it again. It changes to whatever color is on your screen. So I'm going to click on this one, and then I'm just going to click OK. Now that I've picked it with my color picker, I'm going to go over to my swatches box, and you'll see that it is the 2 last colors that were just picked up. So now all I have to do is click on this, and voila, it changes the color of my star to match the last thing that I selected with my color picker. If you don't see your swatches box over here, all you have to do is go over to Window and click on Swatches, and it will pop up over on your right hand side. And then the last basic that I want to show you today is how to save your design, because there are actually a couple of ways. So if you go over to File and click on Save As, you'll be able to save either to your Creative Cloud or to your computer. And then over here you'll notice Save As Type is currently set to Photoshop file, but you can save it as something else, such as a PDF or a TIFF file. Now on my computer, I don't know about yours, but on my computer it doesn't give me the option to save as a PNG or a JPEG. However, instead of having clicked Save As, I'm going to click on Save a Copy. Now, if I go to this little box, you'll see that now I have way more options at my disposal. So now I'm going to save as a PNG. And that's normally what I suggest for you guys, is to save as a PNG whenever you're ready to save your project as a flat file. However, if you want to be able to work with these layers later on, make sure that you're saving this project as a Photoshop file. If you do not save your project as a Photoshop file, you will not be able to adjust any of the layers later on. Okay? So whenever I'm working with my projects, I make 2 copies. My main copy is my Photoshop file so that I can go back and work on this project anytime I want. But I also save as a flat PNG file because I will either be emailing that PNG off to my customer, or I'm going to be printing copies of that PNG out to make chip bags or whatever it is that I'm making. So make sure that you have 2 copies, one to work on later and one that is finished. You can print off, email, whatever you want. Those are your 14 Photoshop basics that I think you need to know just to make your life a little bit easier when you are using Photoshop. If I missed anything important, drop them in the comments below and I can make a second video. I didn't want to overwhelm you too much, and I really hope I didn't, so let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!